Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well, and we've got Mythic League tournament number 4 today, and it's exciting for a number of reasons. We've got a ton of people waiting in the Discord ready for this matchup, which is sweet. I think Bengalio invited a bunch of friends, which is awesome. It's always great to see some new faces around the Discord and around the Spellslingers game in general, because we've got some people who have just been playing this for forever. And Bengalio, I've seen their name. I was just talking to them before we started, and they had started playing in March and made Mythic then, which is funny because I've been playing since September, and so it's just felt so long to get to March, and that's where we had less and less kind of updates to the game. But either way, it's just really great to see some new players. So we've got Nayaboy, aka Marvin's Vivien list, which is a really, really interesting list, and I'll start there before we hop into the Discord and hop into the matches. But Vivien's always been a really diverse mid-range option, and I think when Garrick came around, it was just like, well, we all should be playing Garrick. And I think myself, I do tend to be someone who really pays attention to the meta and puts a lot of focus on well, what is the best thing to be doing? And I think that for the most part, really what is tough is when you identify strategies that just clearly have a better win percentage across the board. But I think what Vivien can do is have so many diverse threats. I mean, even if you're looking at this list, if you're familiar with Vivien, I have not often see Hellrider played or Death Shadow. I'm honestly really, really excited to see how this deck list plays out. Really cool sideboard too. Treetop Lookout's just always good for any green deck. Watch Wolves to really shore up the aggro matchup. And Pixie Tricksters, which I think I almost always had main board in Vivien, are just really great answers to a bunch of different decks, but particularly Death Shadow or if you were running into Liliana. So that is Nayaboy, aka Marvin's list, and I think it's really, really interesting and not a planeswalker that we see all that often, in a competitive setting. And here we have Bengalio or Bengalio's list of Nissa. Running Sacred Sanctum, definitely going pretty tall with a 1 of Epitome of Might, Grim Echoes, Primal Summoning, and Crush of Worms. Pretty stock list. We've got a Pixie Trickster, Lava Waves, Craterhoof Behemoths. So definitely a mid-range Nissa list that I like, that definitely could go pretty huge. And then some really interesting sideboard choices, right? Soul of the Wood for the aggro matchup, Pyroclasm as well. Woodland Hermitage if you need a bit more card advantage in the matchup. Probably a good side-in against control matchups in particular. I really like that choice. Worm's Wake for mid-range probably. Shell Game and Pixie Trickster as really good kind of catch-all answers in the sideboard. So I really love the list. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm super excited for Mythic League tournament number 4, and we will catch you at the first match. Okay, well, I guess we're getting into game 1, but I was going to say the same thing, Roxor. I really liked the Vivien list. Just like Hellrider's a really interesting choice. Death Shadow, some really spicy stuff in there.
Yeah, the Death Shadow is the most confusing to me. I'm excited. I also think Miss Raven is going to be really good here.
All right, well, see how this hand goes for Bengali. I mean, if Nayaboy kind of curves out, this is going to be a little tough.
Yeah, it's a very passive hand. The additional 2 life, and I guess also the skill will help, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know what your opinion of just the general matchup is, but I would give it to Nissa most likely. Just with how mid-range matchups tend to go with Nissa, and the fact that you've got obviously Craterhoof at the top of the curve and Lava Wave. But I do think that what Vivien has always been able to do, even in control matchups, is find these windows, whether with Sneak or other kind of buffs that you're able to give to your creatures, that you can have some of these big turns where you swing for a lot and really find creative ways of closing the game out. But I think it's going to be generally pretty tough for Marvin to win the matchup.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing, Briarfox. But I think Briarfox is such a cool card.
It's pretty
But yeah,
annoying.
here's gonna bite the dust, probably.
Yeah. Definitely good to get that off the board when you can. Take a fine trade here. I do like the snake. I really liked it when Tino had actually been playing it in Garrick, because it's like you don't really want to block it, right? And so buffing it so that your opponent like has a little bit more incentive to block it makes it kind of annoying. I think it's kind of a cool 2-drop for the deck.
All right, Momir Vig coming down, another one of my favorites. Just a really, really good value card. Could just kind of steamroll if it goes unanswered.
Yeah, it's probably one of your better turn 4 plays as Vivien. Just gets so much value.
Here's an interesting question of, do you fire off this Rampant Growth, or do you try and get the Duraga Druid Rampant Growth combo?
I think you just fire it here, but I mean, if we're looking at our hand and just the amount of 8-drops we have, like, card advantage, I don't think you really care that much about. I think you just want to get the extra mana advantage going, and it's good to consider, though. Like, you definitely don't have to just auto through your turn, but
no, Bengali agrees clearly.
Yeah, so we'll see what Bengali draws. I mean, if they don't get the land proc, like drawing the Daybreak Ranger off the top would probably be a good one. Anything to interact with the board here.
Ooh.
That's nice.
Yeah, so this is what I was thinking. Is like the Vivien player has a lot of really tempo positive plays, right? Stag, Misthaven, you know, so like this can stack up quite heavily. Although there is the lava wave coming up.
Yeah,
you have to be aware of that.
I feel like, obviously, we don't know what's in Nayaboy's hand. I probably would have opted to use the upgrade that turn instead of playing Gladecover Scout. Just in the sense of like, yeah, you can go wide, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad play here, but I think you want to get the biggest bang for your buck out of every single creature that you play against a mid-range deck that's going to go over the top of you.
Sure.
And
yeah, think about what happens if Misthaven comes down. Like, now we do an upgrade, and we do like if we have Misthaven here, that would be insane.
That would, I mean, that might be enough to really.
Okay, but Grudge match is just as good almost.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, I mean, the name of the game is live to play Lava Wave. But I mean, you've got Primeval Titan, which buffs your life total a little bit, but this might be lethal next turn if they've got interaction.
Okay. Oh.
Flying. And Trample Relentless on that. This is looking pretty rough. Yep.
Yeah, that's just lethal.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. 12, 10. Yeah,
very nice.
Lethal.
Yeah, this is looking pretty rough if you get the curve out.
And
the Misthaven on top.
Anyways, oh.
That's pretty tough. Wow. Yeah, the land trigger was definitely not helping. But yeah, wow, just really strong curve out from Nayaboy, and just was like, all right, I'm going to beat you before you play Lava Wave. And worked out pretty well. So now we'll get to see Bengali's sideboard. I forget what they have access to. I think it's Shell Game, an additional Pixie Trickster, couple other.
Worm's Wake, they can change to Woodland Hermitage,
Okay.
Pyroclasm, and Solarwood. So Solarwood, definitely coming in here.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Also, and I guess Pyroclasm probably.
Changing to Hermitage.
If you're really worried about getting beat down here. But other than that, Pixie Trickster is only okay. I think Worm's Wake is staying where it is.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there was just Woodland Hermitage sideboard, right?
Really? They just I didn't I was watching. They just switched that. Okay.
I think that was it.
They're on their side as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we could see Marvin's perspective here. I'm wondering what they decided in, but I think
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I mean, the Death Shadows are definitely less, impacted by Lava Wave, certainly. Um,
But are you even going to be able to cast them? They didn't take any damage.
yeah,
They took 0 damage that game.
that's true. It is it's probably a great card in the aggro matchup, but
Yeah, I think those cards are coming out. Like the Death Shadows are coming out here.
yeah, I think that would
I
be.
don't think you want to be, spending a bunch of mana on 13/13s.
I would agree.
Beating them down. So the werewolves here are gonna be pretty good. Agitators is like a card that I think is just outstanding in Nissa.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, we thought they were good in in Domri, and then we, I think, quickly learned that they were just absolutely busted in Nissa. Oh, Beast Bonder is just the scariest 2-drop. This thing can get super out of hand. But yeah, I mean, being able to go Agitator into Daybreak is going to stem a lot of this. Oh, I would just play the Agitator here.
Yeah, Bengali, looking at the wolf here. Interesting.
I mean, you do.
Actually, I agree with this because the thing with agitators is you want to play it and then immediately transform it, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna wait until the next turn to play the agitators. So
I
they'll
guess
have one mana gem plus the fragile mana gem.
I guess that's true. Waiting a turn is okay. Well, you definitely take the trade on the Beast Bonder. That's great for you.
The other one getting trample. Oof.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Yeah, this is looking. I was gonna say before. I was like, I have my money on Nayaboy. And that's where
I've played this matchup so much, so I was like, nah, Nissa's got this, but maybe not. Yeah, I mean, if they get to just like play some sort of interaction and hit, this is definitely tough.
And Bengali can play Daybreak Ranger next turn, but Daybreak Ranger is a lot worse on the back foot, I think. It's much better when you can play it like kind of proactively.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy to play. Oh, interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna do the Jiraga Druid. I was just gonna mention the Jiraga Druid Agitators little combo here. So gonna be 2 life, 2 cards coming their way.
Yeah. Now this gets hard for Nayaboy. Whether it's Crater Hoofs and Crush of Worms.
Yeah, I think just the Crush of Worms next turn is gonna be a problem.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And keep an eye on the comments. Knight's contributing the conversation with you guys too.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's speaking too soon. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I think I like initially like first couple turns, but yeah, now it's kind of turned around. I think Crush of Worms is gonna be a blockade here.
Yeah, Knight also has played a ton of Nissa too, so appreciate
Crush
the
of Worms very good into Mistraven.
Yep. There you go. All right, so you take probably want to block the trample one there, but
You with the agitators, you take 3, you take 7.
yeah, I think you just want to get the thing off the board. That's going to get bigger over time. I'd rather block a 4/3 trample.
Here, there's a possibility where they don't buff it enough to deal you damage. You can block with some 6/6.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, I think this is going to be too much for Nayaboy now. I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right, Stag's not going to do anything. Mistraven is going to be terrible. I guess Mistraven is. Yeah, Mistraven's not going to be great here. You could delay Crush of Worms, but then it comes down.
Yeah.
They have a creature here. They can get it with the Beast Bonder, but again, Oh.
Yeah, you could trade a Beast Bonder for a worm.
Briarfox is getting flying though. I remember Vivien is 26 life still, so like they got time.
Yeah, it's going to be about attrition at this point, which is probably where this land is also going to be tougher. I think I would just go for the Grudge match on the Briarwolf this turn, or you could just Daybreak Ranger it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would attack with both, and then Daybreak Ranger if they don't block. You can kind of see what you want to do after that, or play Prime Time.
Yeah. Dang. Poor Briarfox. Oh, so they're gonna do the Grudge match. Okay.
Looks like it. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think any way you slice it, it's just this gets really, really difficult to deal with.
And not allowing the trade on the damage Crush of Worms, which also means they won't be able to really attack either.
Yeah. Definitely playing pretty smart there. Yeah, so I mean, your best shot, I think, from Vivien's perspective, is just try your best to kind of win the war of attrition, get the worms off the board, and hope you've got enough to get there.
All right, so here's the Mistraven.
Okay.
Mistraven actually allowing the Stag to get in now.
Yeah.
So going down to 13. But yeah, as Knight is saying, Crater Hoof coming down here. Gonna cause some problems. Although, oh man, just as I was like,
Brontosaurus.
You know, Crater Hoof doesn't actually stop this Mistraven from dealing damage. Brontosaurus kind of does.
Yeah, you've got a lot of options here.
Yeah, a lot of different options here.
I think generally you want to treat Brontosaurus as a planeswalker and say that I need to have stuff on the board before I play it. So to protect it as much as possible, I like this play.
Yeah, I was also going to say like Crater Hoof buffing Brontosaurus is also really nice.
Yeah, Knight agrees. Yeah, I think you want to play something proactive here. Obviously, it makes your whole hand better as well. Bengali is getting low, though. I think you got to be pretty aware.
Yeah, at minimum, they're going to 10 years, so.
Yep. So next turn, you're potentially going to 9. You can just slam Crush of Worms again. You could do Brontosaurus. Okay. Are we Arkbowing?
Try and get
Crow?
Some evasive ability on Ulrich. Oh, okay, nice. So you get to get in with both these.
Nice.
Yes, this is pretty good.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah. Obviously, like something like flying would have been insane, but armor is just as good. And they get to do it again next turn.
Yeah.
Going super big here. So this will force a block.
Yep. Gotta block the worm. Well, I guess you don't have to, but I don't think you want to take 11.
Yeah, I don't think you want to take 11. No, and you have to trade. You should just trade here, yeah.
Yeah, I think you just trade with Ulrich and just say that, you know, Mistraven is kind of your best shot of punching through damage.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if you'd want to, like, if you have another Mistraven, if it's better to bounce. Which one of these is better to bounce? But honestly, neither of them are really great to bounce. And 1 mana 6/6 Scion.
Pretty nice 1 mana card. Thanks, Tank. So what is Nayaboy gonna do here? You've got the bow. Obviously, you don't get to, you just get the random 3 upgrades. But what is it? It's like the upgrade of fire gives +3/+0. I think that's the highest attack stat.
And they kind of have to win this turn because again, the Brontosaurus is going to come down with a ward. Right? The Brontosaurus has ward, right?
Yeah. I think it's pretty much locked up after that. But
yeah.
Okay.
And just playing a bunch of blah creatures here. Yeah, it's not going to do it.
And then keeping the 2 mana to get the flip. All right, punch it for 4.
Oh, not getting the...
Oh. Yep, so the 1/1 can block Crater Hoof, obviously, and then you could even take 6, go to 1.
Yeah, but it just doesn't do anything at this point.
Oh yeah. Sin was saying maybe they have the Death Shadows. All right.
All right, so 12/14. Trample ward, protecting their life total as well. Back against the wall. Can Nayaboy do anything?
Yeah, that's a pretty tough position. The Brontosaurus. Knight, the game's not over quite yet. Come on. Come on. Littlefoot lives. I love that. Yep.
All right.
It's about as good as it's getting. GG. Yeah, no, it was a good fight there.
Vivien still got him down to 6 life.
Yeah. This is an extremely close game.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wonders, like, if Nayaboy had prioritized buffing the Mistraven with the bow twice, if it would have been game. But the thing is, I think because Bengali had the option to play the Brontosaurus sooner, it still would have been tough.
Yeah, I also don't know what the other 2 options for the Vivien's bow was. So
yeah, that's true. It's always a gamble, but that Mistraven almost closed it out. All right, getting ready for game 3.
All right, so they make any changes going into game 3, or are they happy?
I really just don't want to see Epitome of Might or Grim Echoes personally in this deck, but I've always been more of a mid-range Nissa player and not one who likes to play all the sort of stuff at the top end.
I think Grim Echoes is fine again because you see how good Crush of Worms is.
Yeah.
In solidifying the matchup, I think Grim Echoes is like the same. I think Epitome of Might is completely unnecessary in this matchup. Yeah, I'm with you there.
My whole thing is just that like your only okay. Game 3. Ready when you are. I think my only thing with Nissa matchups is that like all you have to do to win the game is just get to the late game. And you have so many options for closing out the game. So it just has always felt like to me like Grim Echoes and Epitome of Might are just like way more than you need to get to the part of the game. Like in terms of win conditions, I guess. I just don't think you need them unless you're playing in a specific meta. But I do think that those are 2 cards that go over the top of some of the most difficult like mid-range control matchups. So I think they're totally fine in the main board. I don't think I would want to play them in this matchup in the sideboard.
They're to get beat down and then play.
It is interesting. I mean, I think when everyone like got on Death Shadows, it was like, all right, what can I fit? Can I put this in every single deck? But yeah, it only really works for certain decks. Okay. Yep. Pretty clear. Clear mulligan. Very nice.
Oh boy.
Yep.
All right, that's a heck of a hand.
See if we get the turn to rampant growth, and then you're off to the races. You just want that in every opening hand with Nissa. It's just your best play every time. Yeah, Zozu's an interesting choice too for Nissa.
I think Hellrider is kind of like their Zozu.
Yeah.
You think the Hellrider is still here? That's a good question too. I haven't seen Hellrider.
No, we haven't seen it played. It'll be interesting to see if it's still on the deck. I personally always love haste creatures against lava wave lists. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, this is pretty good. You get just your 2-drop into. You could Agitator then Jiraga Druid if you just want to ramp, but.
They got Grudge Mesh off the top, also nice.
All right, so we got the flying upgrade for Briarfox.
Oof.
Not bad.
So do you Grudge Match here, or do you play Jiraga Druid? Because they're not blocking. Tell you that.
I think it's tough. I think you probably just run out the Druid. I mean, you could just take your 1 for 2 here and be kind of sad, but okay.
I would not fault them for
okay.
Playing out. That's interesting.
Sign as a 4/4 is not bad.
I wouldn't fault them for playing Jiraga Druid, but there's a chance that if they do that, like this Briarfox just runs away with the game.
Yeah, that's true.
But doing neither of those and just playing a 4/4 Scion.
So here, you definitely hope Briarfox doesn't get like a really like relentless or something like that.
Ward, like imagine they get a ward on this.
Yeah. But you've got a good, hopefully favorable Grudge match next turn, which I think is a good play by Nice.
Trample the worst of those.
Yep.
worst possible result there, I think.
All right. Yeah. Pretty easy Grudge match. Happy to hit with both. I just wish this epitome of might was not the epitome of might. That's my big thing here. It's a good point, Knight. I think that black tells us no Death Shadow. Yeah, I think generally you're happy to take chunks of damage if you do have it.
So 5 mana here. I might just play the Jiraga Druid and pass. It's a little bit of an awkward sequence here.
If you do go Agitator, you can guaranteed do Jiraga Druid and Growth next turn.
That's fair.
So I think I like this better from Bengali.
Actually, you could even just go nothing, or just like Druid, and you have a Primal Summoning into Epitome of Might. Or whatever else you draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Primal Summoning is a fantastic card when you are just ramping.
Yeah, I mean, when you hit Crush of Worms, it really shuts things down. Obviously, play your Epitome of Might, and then things get kind of impossible.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so Nayaboy hitting the Relentless upgrade
Nice.
on Momir Vig.
Okay.
That's...
Yeah, not a bad one.
Oh,
Okay, well,
Pixie Trickster.
Trickster Rampant Growth wouldn't be bad. Keep one of your gems. I don't think you want to play Jiraga Druid Barkhide Growth on this board. I don't think it's terrible, but I think I would want to interact with Momir here and then just try and trade for one of them.
What they're doing, though.
Okay.
Raven?
Yeah, I mean, any interaction here.
I want to see a Raven. Let's get it.
Upgrade Raven would be really nice.
Alright, Ward.
There's the upgrade. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Oh boy.
Still the only thing that's very, I mean, like...
Take 7, get another upgrade.
Yeah. But again, this Pixie Trickster is going to just shut down this, Garage here. Unless they're just going, wow, they're just ignoring it.
Okay.
I think...
Tusker.
Yeah.
The treetop lookouts came in.
Yeah, I think just being a 2-mana 3/3
Yeah.
is enough, right? Again, after getting beat down game 1, they're just like, I just wanna play good cards.
Yeah, I mean you do have Primal Summoning Epitome.
It answers like, you know, it walls like the Beast Bonder early, right?
Yeah, I mean still pretty healthy for Nissa, even with the kind of growing threat, but
yeah,
you've got
actually
answers.
having a higher life total than Nayaboy, yeah. Grudge match, okay.
Yep, good grudge match for sure. You don't even have to attack with it this turn if you want to sit and get another upgrade.
I was just about to say there could be another one, and this is now like again I said like just like with the Briarfox, Momir Vig and Grudge can just run away with the game if left unchecked, and
wow,
Big Golly had ways of answering it.
Yeah, this is Arrow. Okay. Yep.
Well, we are going to see either Primal Summoning into Crush of Worms or Epitome. Oh, we also just have this Brontosaurus. Oh, no, but we're going to do the Trickster now. Okay, after all this. Okay. And just play a bunch of creatures. Okay. All right. We've learned our lesson.
All right. I mean, getting the Pixie Trickster off the board is pretty easy, probably. Don't have great attacks outside of that. Oh, but Hellrider is lethal. Especially with Sneak. Jeez.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Hellrider, there we go.
Oh no. Hellrider with Sneak is pretty sick. Wow.
From the animal era, right? Wow.
Jeez. Okay. My goodness. Dang. What a game.
There were some close ones, yeah.
Whew.
I was bummed about that opening hand in the first one, but...
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Yeah, but that game was pretty decisive. But yeah, I did really need that lava wave. Just to mitigate the Hellrider damage, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, that was tough. The one thing we were kind of talking about where we were wondering for more sideboard options was taking out like Grim Echoes or Epitome for like Soul of the Wood or some of like
I considered
Pixie.
putting Soul of the Wood in. I play tested this match with another Mythic player, a friend of mine who has played in Marvin's deck, and I was doing like Grim Echoes was like a game-winning card. I think we played 12 matches. It probably won me 3 games.
Oh yeah,
It doesn't line up all the time, so yeah, I get that. It's just really good on Crater Hoofs. You can swing, turn that into 5 hasters, which that's pretty potent and it's really strong in Prime. I've had some good interactions with it, but definitely it's an option to give me a little more resilience.
Yeah, I mean, I think you played the match really well. I like having the treetops for the early, blockers are just efficient creatures on the ground.
It's really important for a Tefari Jace match too. Is like mostly, but I mean, I used them really well against like immolating glares against Tino, and Blade of Steel was also using it. I was able to force some damage through with like some Scions while they still like the turn after they had ward before he power word stunned them or did something like that. So
Yeah,
they were definitely very useful for my deck. And especially if you're on like the best of one ladders, there's some matchups you need them.
oh,
Same
for
with
sure.
tricksters. I usually main deck 2 tricksters like for ladder, but with the option of the sideboard, I decided I'd rather have an extra lava wave.
Yeah, no, I really like your list. I think it goes so tall that the mid range and control decks would really struggle, and probably the only matchup that gets a little tougher is aggro because you just have a little bit less relevant early game cards. But I think just for the general meta, I would say that your Nissa list like just packs a lot of a punch, and it's always kind of been that like as Nissa gets taller, it just gets a little bit more susceptible to aggressive stuff, and you kind of just take that trade off because aggro's been, in my opinion, like pretty not good of an option for laddering purposes. But
I've definitely had some tough ones against like Nahiris and such. Like your more traditional barbarian Nahiri, I should say, after seeing the Yak list. But
yeah, the control.
that threw me for a loop too. But that also was like some really close games with Blade. So. But yeah, the aggro match was definitely something I was worried about. That's why I intended the Pyroclasm and Soul of Wood more so for those matchups, and that's why I was main decking the Sanctum and main decking on the ladder for that reason too, just to kind of help give me a little bit extra health to get me up to those higher curves. But I just couldn't really that third game I just couldn't really stick down the creatures in the way I wanted to. Just didn't quite line up. I had some plays where it was like that was the best play I could make, but yeah, it was like no turn 3 prime times, none of the fun stuff, like turn 1 birds on the extra gem into like rampant growth. Turn 3 primeval is like a pretty fun line of play on this deck.
Yeah, not having the Birds of Paradise early is tough. How have you felt about Circle of Druid in general? Because someone was asking about that, and I'm a little bit down on that card myself. But
I could see why. I think because I am main decking the Grim Echoes, the Circle has some extra relevance.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's really clunky. I mean, in a lot of my deck tests, there are like turns where I was playing it on like turn 6 or 7 or whatever. But I still really like it because you don't always hit your mana, like your mana ramps early, and without the acceleration, it's hard to get into the top part of the curve. So like Druids guarantees you, I mean it's not the greatest, but at minimum a turn 6, which can get you to your 8th a turn earlier. If you turn 3 draw your Barkhide Wolf, and then turn 3 draw the ramp.
Yeah,
it definitely has some viability. I mean, especially on the hands where you turn 2 Barkhide, turn 3 play the ramp off of it. It tends to be pretty strong, but
yeah.
I don't know. I could love it or I could leave it. The other thing I do like about it is the built-in health gain, because again, I'm trying to get to that late game, so it does give me a little extra stall options. And there's been games where the Brontodon's like what's kept me alive, for sure.
Yeah, the more you're talking about it, the more I'm kind of like, I think Brontosaurus is an angle for the deck that is pretty tough to deal with for the most part, unless you're playing certain matchups. And I think just with the way things have been less aggressive, like in my experience playing the last couple months, because of how powerful, like really the only aggro deck that in my mind you want to be playing is potentially Garrick, or is Garrick potentially Nahiri.
Garrick's busted. I was really glad to have to play Garrick this tournament.
No, this is a great matchup. Marvin, thanks for joining too, and congrats for getting the win there. We were. Oh, you're talking. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah, I get it on the microphone.
Awesome. Well, how did you feel things performed on your end? Since we couldn't see your hand, we were always guessing, well, are we going to see the Hellrider? Or are we going to see the Death Shadow? No, it's all good. But
yeah. So what was your question?
Oh, just like how did you feel about how the matchup went in general? I mean, Hellrider with Sneak was a pretty nice way to end it.
Yeah, I was really happy when I got it. When I drafted it with the draft card from Vivien, I got Sneak on the Hellrider. So I thought this will help me in the end.
Yeah, that was definitely big for forcing the last little bit of damage in.
Yeah, so Hellrider has helped a lot in this deck. It always finishes the opponent in the when they have a little life left, health.
Yeah, I mean, I think Roxor and I were talking about it. Like Miss Raven just always seemed pretty good for trying to punch through damage. I was kind of wondering, it's hard to beat out Brontosaurus game 1, or sorry, that was game 2.
Game 2.
But I was wondering if you got lucky enough on the upgrades with the Mist Raven, maybe you would have been able to close it out. But I think it's tough.
It was too hard. It was too late for me in game 2.
Yeah. But
What was your sideboard plan?
My sideboard plan in the second game, I took out the Shadow and took in Watch Wolves because I thought it would be more aggressive. Because I thought that was the plan that would work against Nissa, and but it didn't. Didn't work when he got out the worms, the big worms. It would have been better for me if I had the Death Shadows. So in the third game, I put back the Death Shadow and took out Ulrich, and had one Watch Wolf left.
Gotcha. Cool. Very interesting.
Yeah.
About that.
A lot of variety in your list, which I think is really cool, and that's I think what's always been interesting about building Vivien is you can be the beatdown and sort of just play a bunch of creatures with stats or haste or kind of cater to a more aggressive game plan, but also you can just play really good value creatures like Ulrich and Momir. Play things like Mist Raven that are also pretty impactful, or even the Stag to just be like Roxora was saying, tempo positive.
Exactly.
I like your list. I think Boss MTG, who had been a really top player for a long time. I don't think he's really playing the game much these days, but he was a huge Vivien lover and grinder, and kind of put me onto that deck back in last fall, and it's just a lot of fun to play because there are so many different options that you can do. So I think, unfortunately, I was kind of saying it before the game started, Garrick being kind of the premier aggressive / mid-range option has made decks like Vivien less, I guess, not really attractive. If you want to play it, you play it, but less of a maybe higher win percentage across the board. So I'm curious for you, Marvin, when you've been playing on the ladder, has it felt pretty smooth, pretty good? Is it awkward at times?
Actually, it has worked very well with Vivien, with this list I have, because I was just trying out different decks and different Spellslingers, and I just started to play 2 months ago. I had a long break and said, well, I'm going to test Vivien, but I don't have a good list. So I think I net decked one deck, and then from there I got some ideas myself that I tweaked myself, the deck, and then I thought if I have a couple of haste creatures, it will help, and Death Shadow as a prize creature, and it worked on the ladder.
Sweet. It looks like a sweet list. And Megalio, I think we said it earlier too. I forget if Marvin was in, but I think your Nissa list has a lot of ways to just go way over the top of the other mid-range and control options. And I think ever since Sarah felt a lot more of a great meta choice to deal with stuff like Garrick and just has some really insane late game, I could see how your list has a lot better time into stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a blast playing Nissa. I think she's my favorite, but I mean, I know I got to branch out for next tournament, so I'm definitely going to be doing some nosing around. Ashiok was my original favorite, but
An Ashiok player.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if we'll be able to get a super viable list together for the LCS. I might try though. We'll see. I did hit Mythic already, so I'll probably see you guys next month. For the same thing, I was like,
heck yeah,
definitely would like to play again.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly no shade to my fellow other Mythic players, Knight and Tino and Bob and all those folks that I love playing against and seeing them play. But it was really fun, just in terms of variety, to see two players that we haven't seen play in the finals, with some cool iterations to the list. Well, folks, we've got our winner. Nayaboy 2-1, some really quick games. I feel like I say that for most of our Mythic League tournaments. And I think just all the players are, playing at such a high level. It's very quick decision making, very decisive sort of games. And I think Nayaboy from the start order, aka Marvin, and thanks for both for being able to make the time difference and sync it all up. Just had some really cool diversity in their deck list. We heard that they boarded in Watchwolf and then at one point had boarded in the Pixie Trickster, I believe. I think you're definitely looking at this matchup and you're saying, I am the aggressor. I have to close things out before Nissa gets online. If she gains enough life, if she's able to grudge match enough things, it's going to be really hard for me to close out the game. Even with some really powerful cards like Momir Vig, Hellrider, Ulrich has always been such a great card, I think, not only in Domri, but in Vivien. But they really got there. Marvin really was able to close it out and just keep applying pressure. And I think there were some different lines of play here and there. But I think what's tough is, like, even with the open deck lists, right, you've got a way of like creating a game plan on top of what you usually do, right? You maybe even know exactly what you're going to sideboard. We had a bit of a time gap in between semifinals and finals, so I think there was even an opportunity for them to like literally make their opponent's deck and play with it, which is a little bit of the downside of open deck lists, but I think I'd rather have full transparency so that there's no like feels bad of like, oh, is that card actually in there, or that kind of thing. But you just don't know what Marvin's doing at any point in the game. I mean, you can estimate if they're taking large chunks of damage, okay, Death Shadow might be coming out. But when you're trying to say, okay, let me set up this, so next turn, if he plays an Ulrich, I've got this answer. It could be Ulrich, it could be Momir Vig, it could be just vicious mongrels coming in, Spearcrown Stags, eating whatever's on your board. Mistraven, which has just been a pretty strong option in a tempo sort of oriented format. And I think we are in a place where we've gotten really used to, obviously, like kind of Garrick, Sarah, and Nissa being the top three decks. And maybe we'll do some more content on why that might be and why maybe that'll shift, depending on which decks come up. I think people are going to try this deck. I think it's a really cool option. And I think that, honestly, I might play it as well. I think Vivien's always been a really fun and interesting and like very skill-intensive mid-range option. I would be willing to bet that Garrick will probably have a higher win rate in a lot of situations. But, I was talking to Marvin. Marvin said it's been doing really well on ladder. It hasn't felt clunky. It hasn't felt weird. So, I'm going to trust that. I think it's a pretty potent deck. If you're able to beat one of the, the top tier planeswalkers. And that's why Spellslingers has always been an interesting game, because there is enough versatility, there are enough cards, there is enough difference in how the planeswalkers play that you can tune really any deck to beat the quote top meta decks and make something that I might put on a tier list as like B tier, right? Which is probably where I would put Vivien, instead of tier A or tier 1, or S tier rather. But you can make a deck that maybe does well into mid range, right? Or like, you know, Nissa, which is a bigger mid range, or into control. Vivien can be pretty aggressive, pretty tempo positive, as Roxora was saying. I love that phrase, because I think that's what allows you to see the strength of the deck, right? Because you might look at this and be like, oh, I just want to play better creatures. I just want to play a streamlined plan, just good old mid-range, whatever it is. Or maybe I'll play beatdown, I'll just play big stat sticks. But I think what builds like this, with what Marvin did, it just allows you to adjust to your opponent's game plan at all points in the game. And yes, there's randomness with the upgrades. Yes, there's randomness with Vivien's Bow. And I like that they have it as a one-of. I really do think that card can be such a game winner in a lot of situations. But, you know, I think, again, it's sometimes when you get so used to playing against certain matchups, something that has just a bit more variety and a bit more of like, I mean, a Hellrider with Sneak, probably one of the cooler ways you could have ended the game. But before I gush too much about Nayaboy's deck, you know, going back to Bengali's list, and I think he really played the matchup very well. Sorry, I'm getting some of the notifications for the foil cards that the players get. You've got a really interesting list here, and I think this is probably, whether you're playing Panharmonicon Nissa or you're playing a deck like this, which is like a little bit even bigger, because you're running the Grim Echo Druid combo, you're running Epitome of Might as well to just go fully over the top of your opponent in the late game. I do think that this is a great option for where Spellslingers has been for quite a while. You have ways of hopefully not losing to Garruk early and just going way over the top. You can go over the top of Sarah, right, and just all your creatures become 10/10s. It's just not going to be possible for them to deal with all of that most of the time. It still can lose to Second Son, but I think that Bengali has a really interesting list here, and I do see a lot of the strength, and I really like the sideboard options too. And although I might have like hedged a little bit more towards playing, you know, things from the sideboard that had a little bit more of like an early game impact. We're actually missing Soul of the Wood here because I made this too big. I think that I get why they wanted to run this specific list, just at least for like game one against most decks, and then having a bit of a transformational plan with Woodland Hermitage for matchups where you needed more reliable card advantage. It's always been great. And then you've got answers like Pixie Trickster, Shell Game, Pyroclasm, and Soul of the Wood for your aggro lists. So really interesting deck lists, and I'm pretty excited to at least, I played a lot of Nissa in my day, so I might hedge a little bit more towards Marvin's build with the Vivien, but I think the lists were great, and it was a really great finals. So if you would like to be in this tournament, or hopefully in the finals, we always do the registration basically the last Wednesday in each month. We also had like a bunch of people spectating. It was awesome to see so many new Discord names. I was about to say faces, but we don't actually do that. And we'd love to have more players sign up. I think we had 13 people who registered this month, which honestly was like a little bit bigger than the last 2 months. I would love for it to be as big as it can be, because it's really fun to get to play at that level and have different players interact in the community. So that was a long digression. Make sure you register the last Wednesday of every month. We always give like roughly 3 days to get everything in. There's the same format every month. You're basically posting in specific channels. You're registering through this Google Docs system that we have, which is great, so that we have everything cataloged there. And I think just making sure that you're timely with everything and communicating with myself or Tenkaichi who are the main admins, but you can always reach out to our other moderators, Karma, Tino, aka Kraken, and Boss of Blades, who hopefully you know from YouTube as well. So we'd love to see as many people as possible. Hope that y'all enjoyed the games, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.